I'm here in Medjugorje and I'm with, what's your name?
Libby Fisher Osborne.
And where are you from?
We're from Dallas, Texas.
And how often have you been here?
This is my first time.
Your first time? Wow.
It's been better than I expected. It really has.
Why? What happened?
Well, I think that I can't say that anything, miraculous happened, although there have been miracles. I went to Apparition Hill the first day, and it was a hard trek for me. I'm 70, so it was a little difficult to go up. I've never hiked before, but it was a wonderful experience. It was a humbling experience, so that kind of got me on the track, I think, of humility, of getting ready for the trip. And then they arranged us to be at one of the apparitions, Maria's home, one of the daily apparitions that she has, and to be in the presence of, to be in a room where I knew the Blessed Mother was there, was pretty awesome. It was different. You could feel it. You could feel her presence. I really felt I was asking her for things and asking her for prayers and intercessory prayers to God, and then I said, I think I need to listen, and she presented God to me, and God said to me, I love you very much. I love you with a kind of love that is not human, and the only way you'll experience this love is when you're with me. And I was thinking in heaven, and he said, so I want you to be with me as often as you can. And I thought that could be daily. And so it was a real special treat for me, the message I got from God at the very loudest. And then she said that Mary came and she blessed each of us individually, and she touched each of the intentions that we had. We had brought intentions from our friends and family, and she touched each intention, and that was really, really nice to know that. So we have a lot of prayers coming from our family and friends from Dallas who have needed prayers and wanted prayers. Went up Cross Mountain. Didn't make it to the first or the second station. It was just too hard for me. So I came back down, but the others went up and had a fabulous time. Felt like, they said it felt a lot easier than it looked, but it was just, I think it was going to be too much for me, so I backed down. And it's just been a really glorious, everywhere you go, they're singing or praying, last night we walked back towards the hotel, which is near the church, and my sister and I were walking in the dark, and it was very dark, and all of a sudden we realized that at St. James in the outdoors, there was just solid people, and it was during adoration. And so everybody was quiet and on their knees. It was so silent, so we didn't notice the people, but there were, I don't know how many people,
in that church,
holds, but there were just seemed like thousands of people. And there always is in that church.
And behind the church as well.
Behind the church, the outside is where. And so
around 7,000 people, totally silence now.
Yeah.
5,000 to 7,000 people.
How many it holds? 7,000. Because it was full at 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and I'm like, nowhere in Dallas would you find that. Nowhere in Dallas could you walk down the street saying the rosary and not be looked at very oddly. But here, people do it all the time.
It's natural to them.
It's just a real peaceful place. So thank you for letting me share that.
Yeah. My pleasure. You have always been Catholic, or you went astray at one point in your life? Or?
I have always been Catholic. I have 2 older brothers and an older sister, and one of my older brothers is a Catholic priest. So when I was 14, I guess he became a priest in 1963. He's in Dallas, Monsignor Don Fisher. He's so I've learned a lot from him. I've been very Catholic. The Eucharist is
the center,
just the center of my life, and I'm married, and my husband became Catholic about 3 years ago, and that
Wow.
was wonderful.
Uh-huh.
That was wonderful. I just prayed that he would do that one day, and I never said anything to him, but he decided.
Wow, you touched me.
Yes.
He did.
So
Uh-huh.
he's, he's a fabulous Catholic.
Like you're
Like me.
just beautiful, your expression,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
You prayed always the rosary as well, that played a role?
I
or?
remember praying the rosary as a child when someone in the family died. We would get in a circle and pray the rosary.
Okay.
I remember my dad would always say the Hail Mary after grace at a meal. And then my mother was ill, and she brought my sister and I to her bed, and I was probably 4 or 5, and my sister's 2 years older. And my mother said, there are times when I can't be a very good mother, and so I've asked the Blessed Mother to be your mother when I can't.
Wow.
And Kathy and I looked at each other like, wow, that's pretty cool. We already knew who the Blessed Mother was. And so we've had a devotion to the Blessed Mother.
Yeah.
We felt like she really has mothered us since our youth.
And confession plays a role in your life? You go
Confession?
to yeah?
Yes, it's funny, I've always gone to confession to my brother, and people think that's strange, but I love him, and he knows me, and so I've started going to confession more often since I started planning this trip, and going once a month has really been a blessing. I didn't realize what that would do for me, but it's...
What would you tell people who are scared to go to confession? I mean, there are people out there maybe listening now, and they love to go and they're scared of the priest.
No, I have confessed sins that, are... I have sinned in my life a lot.
We are?
And
Me too.
I've never had a priest that was judgmental, that wasn't loving. And it's God wanting us to come to the priest to get absolution, and wanting us to come and say, I've sinned like everyone else. And I want to give it to God. And that's what you do. You give it to God, and it's gone. He doesn't remember it. And I do believe that. There's not a priest out there that would be critical or that hasn't heard it already.
Yeah.
They've heard it all. And so I would always suggest to go to confession. And, some priests are very good and talk to you a long time and give you advice, and some priests are just a little bit shorter and give you absolution, and that's fine too. But
Beautiful.
and you can go face to face or behind a screen.
Yeah.
I think face to face is great.
Me too.
Yeah.
Face to face. No?
Yeah, that's my favorite.
And you also made the experience in your life through suffering you came closer to God?
Yes, there were times in my life that I have grown closer to God. I think that when I was growing up, I took a wrong turn, like a lot of people do. And in my teenage years, in early 20s and 30s, I drank a lot. I don't drink anymore, which is nice, but that got me into a lot of trouble, and I always felt apart from God when I drank. I almost felt like, God wasn't with me. And really, through getting sober and then being open and knowing God loved me, that was the thing that I finally learned. No matter what, He loved me. It opened up my heart, and I felt so much closer to Him. And I'm 70 now, and I'm like, what's my purpose? What am I going to do for these next 15 or 20 years maybe, but 15 years? And I thought, I'm going to spend this time getting closer to God. I think we can always get closer. So I want to do spiritual reading, and I want to pray more, and go to Mass more, and fast, and do those things that we are called to do. Fast and
like the 5 stones, fasting, daily scripture.
Right,
go to
spiritual
mass,
reading, going to mass,
yes,
going to confession,
and praying from the heart, the
and
rosary.
praying the rosary. And they say that will stop wars. And, fasting and praying the rosary will stop a war. I believe that.
I believe too. Absolutely.
And I know that, I have a funny story because my brother is a priest in Dallas that is well known, and he and I are very close. And people frequently will call me and say, could you ask Don to do this, or could you ask Father Don to do this? And they know he'll do it if I ask him. And he does. Whatever I ask him, he does it. Because he loves me. And I think about that when I say to Mary, will you ask Jesus, would you ask your son to do this? And he will say yes. I mean, he'll say yes to me too. But it's just kind of, it just seems like it's a good end
to Jesus, the Jesus. Feminine way, the softer, gentle way.
Right.
I think this is for our Protestant friends as well, that they understand there are different ways to Rome.
Yes. Yeah.
And some people feel more comfortable this way, other people direct with Jesus. Nothing wrong with that, no?
No,
nothing wrong. And she always leads to him.
Our Father and Jesus and the Holy Spirit are the center of my life. And Mary is a loving, loving mother to me that will help me to know what I need, will help me and guide me and guide me towards Jesus. That's all she does.
So it happened what your mother prophesied.
Yes, it did. Yes,
it did happen, no?
That was a beautiful gift my mother gave us.
I think so too. And the origins of your mother, where was she originally from, or the grandparents?
My parents grew up in Fort Thomas, Kentucky, and we moved to Dallas when I was about 3, so that was 1957. And
they came from Europe, the ancestors.
Eventually, Germany.
Germany. Oh, nice.
And some of the Fishers came from the Netherlands, but our family came from Germany.
Wonderful.
I went to Germany and I got.
Turn around, thank you. Yeah.
I got mistaken as a German many times. They started to speak to me, and I was like, no, I'm an American.
And what would you tell people? You drank. There are a lot of people out there. They have addictions. What would you tell them out of your experience?
God is the way out, and a lot of people don't believe in God. Also, and you don't have to get sober. I went through a 12-step program.
The Anonymous Alcoholics. It's powerful, I heard.
And it helped me to understand my higher power, and it helped me to understand myself. I used to hear people say, I'm so glad I'm an alcoholic because I learned so much through those steps, and I used to think that was crazy. But now I really am glad. I wish everybody could go through that journey.
I think people should.
The support that you have from the other people and your sponsor is so necessary and important. And people come and they might slip and go back out, and that's okay. And when they come back, it's beautiful. And I did that. I tried to stop for years and years, and couldn't. Not on my own. So when I got into a group, I was able to do it with the help of those people and what I heard in those 4 walls and God.
Wow, so beautiful. I think that will help somebody watching now.
Yes. Because addictions are so hard. It's a disease. We can't help it. People say just stop, and you can't.
No.
You just can't.
Did you have the feeling that it had a root cause with your parents, a lack of love?
Yes, we had alcoholism throughout our family. So I was pretty destined to be alcoholic. And then I grew up taking sips out of my dad's drinks, and started drinking when I was about 15 with my dad some. And I think that it was what I learned. I learned that when something good happens, we celebrate and we have wine. or a drink. And if something bad happens, you drink. If there's something, you know.
That's the solution you learned.
You just come home and you have a drink. And so that's what I learned. And I just, because I had that gene in me, I think, of the generations of addiction, it was just, I didn't have a chance.
But the 12-step programs.
The 12-step program is what got me.
There's a famous bodybuilder from Ireland. I don't know if he was even in the World Series champion. And he said the same thing. He studied psychology. He said 6 years. That didn't help.
No.
It was the 12 steps that brought him.
I went to therapy. I'm a therapist, and I work with other people who have addictions and childhood traumas and so forth. But I went to therapy for years, and it certainly helped me, but it didn't keep me from drinking. The therapist that I went to wasn't another alcoholic. I think it's good to go to somebody who's experienced. That's
a wise man told me, only what you solved you can help to solve in other lives.
I'm very grateful that I went through what I went through because I can help people.
Yes.
And that's the reason I can help people is because I had a family that drank a lot, and I had my own experience with drinking. Without that, I could, do something else, but I wouldn't be nearly as good at the counseling that I do.
And you say now it was God who pulled you out of that?
Absolutely, it was God. I went to Rome, and I was on the steps that Jesus went up when he was sentenced to be crucified. Jerusalem sent those holy steps to Rome. And I went up. You can only go up on your knees. And I was going up those stairs, and about the second step from the top, I thought, I should probably be praying. I don't know what I was doing. And so I said a prayer, and I said, God, help me to have the desire to stop drinking, because I needed to be willing to, and I wasn't willing to. And it was about 4 months later that I was at a conference for eating disorders, and they were talking about eating disorders, and they were saying that people couldn't drink wine because there was so much sugar in it. And I said to the person in charge, I said, well, I'm not going to stop drinking. I would never stop drinking. It was pretty stupid on my part to say that to a counselor. But I did. And she said, come with me. And so she sent me over to another counselor that's a substance abuse counselor. And he said, what would it take for you to stop drinking? And I said, the only thing that would just be horrible, that I would just want to end my life, would be if I killed somebody in the car driving. If I killed them as a human being. I said, I could not do that. And he stood up and shook my hand, and he said, call me when you killed somebody, and I'll try to help you get through it. And he walked out the door. And that's what did it. And I just thought, oh my gosh, what if it happened today? What am I doing this for? Because it could happen today. So I quit drinking that day.
Wow.
And haven't had a drink. That was November 15th of '93.
Wow. Wow, you give me goosebumps all over.
Years in a couple of weeks.
I'm so happy, because you were set free,
Yes, it's changed my life completely. I'd be dead. I wouldn't be here. But it has changed my life completely.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah.
And at the end, what would you tell people? Why come to Medjugorje one time?
Well, it's my first time, and I came without any, expectations, which I think is good. And to experience the peace in a city, to experience the fact that at 5:40, when the apparition comes, the people around the church all stop, and you know it's happening. And so it gives you chills. And it's an experience that is nowhere else
to be found in this world.
To be found on this world, I don't think.
Yeah.
There are so many thousands of people here, all for God, all respecting each other and loving each other. There's so much love in this town. is just amazing. And I did not expect the peace that I feel and the love that I feel. And I hope to carry that back to Dallas with me, and I really do. I want to just keep it inside.
Thank you so much for that beautiful
You're so
interview.
welcome.